Hi there, and welcome to the Trax app Sprint 1 review. Throughout this video, we'll be talking about what we have done over the course of Sprint 1, breaking it down by user stories by each developer, and explaining some of the things we have accomplished and struggled with, and discussing further on what we're going to improve those things as we lead into Sprint 2. We'll be taking turns to explain each user story and that we have worked on, and I'll pass this on to Ryan.
Kia ora, my name is Ryan and I am a developer on the Trax app. So after tossing around some ideas for how we'd like the application to function, and after some UML diagrams, we decided that a client-server model is going to be the best bet. So the server is going to need to hold like the user accounts and the posts function of the app. With the server up and running, our highest priority was, my highest priority was the most dependent user stories that were a must-have. So these were the register and login stories. Sanam wrote the PHP scripts for these, and he'll talk about them next. Unfortunately, I didn't really upskill for these areas of Android, and I needed to follow some guides online and some examples. So this led to a few different implementations on some Git branches before we settled on extending async classes and using JSON requests to handle communication between the application and the server. We rewrote the underlying code here maybe 4 times at different stages as we learned more about how the application was going to function and our use case changed. So with the user being able to log in and register successfully, we needed a way to query their information. So when they created a post or a comment, we needed to get their username. So I extended the preference manager class and created our preference utility class. So this saves user information locally in the application storage. With the login and register stories completed, my next story was to develop the main feed of posts for the app. So this would serve as the main interface for the application, kind of like a home, so it needed to be quite robust. After some prior experience and reading online, I found that Android fragments would be the best way to implement this in our app. Luckily, I had upskilled in fragments, and it wouldn't be too much trouble to build the activity and classes. A lot of the async code could be reused, and the fragments were designed to be reused in different activities. One of the last things I worked on before the end of Sprint 1 was the profile activity. This story wasn't in the backlog, but it was accidentally started by another team member. The story has links to other stories in the sprint, so instead of removing the feature, I just finished it and we implemented it.
Hello, my name is Hiran Rassam and I am a developer on the Trax application. Although I helped with multiple user stories because I wrote some of the PHP files with Ryan, the user stories that I was focused on were registering, logging in, creating posts, and creating comments and viewing comments. All of those user stories require both sending from data to the PHP files, which returns a JSON data format sent back to the app, and the app will do what is required depending on the results of the JSON data. For instance, the register user story uses a form on the app to collect data from the user, then sends it to the server, and the server returns an array of the registered user details to be stored in the preference utility. The login user story uses a form on the app to collect the username or email and password. If it matches the details on the server, then the server returns the user details again and is stored in the preference utility. The creating a new post user story involves a form that sends the data to the PHP file, and the PHP file will validate and store the data in the database. And after the form closes, which goes back to the feed and refreshes the feed to get the new post. Which is the same for creating a comment, except it doesn't close an activity, but it refreshes the post on a click of the comment button. Viewing comments is very similar to the feed in that it uses an Android fragment. However, one major difference is that it requires the post ID to be passed to the server so that it returns the comments that belong to that post. The comments are shown after clicking on a post, which displays the post details and the comments that belong to it.
Hi, my name is Jason and I'm the product owner and one of the developers on the Trax development team. The user story that I worked on was implementing notifications, allowing users that have created the post to receive a notification when a comment is posted. For testing purposes, a notification was made when a user was logged in into the app. There are some minor hiccups along the way of implementing additional functionalities. with the notification tabs. As we're using a higher API system for this application, some of the features such as a large icon for add action buttons are removed for our APIs. Therefore, we're not able to implement the large icon for the add action buttons.
Hi, my name is Callum and I was the developer and Scrum Master for the sprint on the Tracks application. During the course of Sprint 1, I worked on the navigation drawer and the user stories, being able to mark posts as found, being able to edit a post, and being able to delete a post. For the implementation of this, I created a pop-up menu that would only appear on a post if the user who created that post was viewing it. I then used the async task, which was created by Ryan earlier in the sprint, to be able to call PHP scripts would then communicate with our database. The issue I faced was that I did not know how the async task worked, and when I tried to implement the post marking it as found, based on the other code, it kept throwing exceptions. So I went and talked to Sanan about it, and he went through it with me and helped me understand how the async task worked, and then I was able to implement them properly, and from there I was able to get editing posts and deleting posts all completed by myself.
Hi, my name is Natish and I'm the developer for the Tracks project. The user stories that I worked on were my posts and navigation UI. This involved working with Ryan and Sanan to get the server to process and filter each post so the user didn't have to do it on their side.
Our definition of done was comprehensive and ordered chronologically. From ensuring that stories were coded completely, they built and ran, and they were well documented, to UATs and unit tests passing successfully.
As you can see by our burn down chart, it's very likely that we were overambitious for thinking what we could get done with the sprint. However, one item that was in our Sprint 1 backlog was a direct messaging feature, which was 55 points, which we would only started on if we had the time to do so, which it turned out we didn't. And so that had an impact on what our burn down chart looked like.
For the reflection of our Sprint 1 goal, we have finished most of the tasks in our Sprint 1 goal, such as creating a database to store all of our post and user information, the ability to create, edit, and view an account, have a main feed that contains all the active posts in the database, and a navigation menu to navigate to the main feed. My post or profile and setting menu. We're not able to complete our Sprint 1 goal because some of the must-have user stories required a user story that wasn't in the product backlog to be completed first before the must-have stories could be completed, meaning that we could not complete the Sprint 1 goal.
We could have improved by planning a little bit more. One thing that we noticed as we were developing is that we had user stories that have parent user stories that were given to two different members of the team. This happened because we were concerned about how many user story points does each member of the team get. Not only that, we had some user stories that relied on should have user stories that were not added to the sprint backlog. One of the things that we must do before starting the development for Sprint 2 is planning poker again, and reconsider the user story points that were given to all the upcoming user stories. We also need to have more meetings, and that's not to discuss information, but rather to develop together and do more paired programming.
Thank you so much for watching, and we're looking forward to getting started on to Sprint 2.